also have an executive summary that you can read as well. But that's another area where you can check the influence of organized labor in big business, because we are doing our job in letting our neighbors know what's happening. And that leads to the final element. Election time. It's when you get to finally look someone in the eye and ask them the tough questions on redevelopment, on pension. You hold them accountable. And that's going to be critically important if we're going to be able to turn the city around, is to ask the tough questions during election time. We're going to have 5 city council seats open in the next year. 5. Those members that were elected in 2008 will have to stand before the voters and account for, you ran saying you were going to fix the problems, that you didn't create them, but you were ready to fix them. 4 years later now, what have you done? Did you vote for pension reform? Did you vote to stop the vacation in lieu? Did you vote on managed competition? Did you vote? I mean, you could go down the whole list of things that are proven that they should be doing. And if the answer is no, or if the answer is some blah, 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 it's like, no, it's not a hard question. Yes or no? It's yes or no. One of the things that I think the lobbyists don't like about me the most is that I'm pretty blunt. You put in writing, in clear terms, with numbers, what you're going to do. You don't give some flowery answer where someone could drive a truck there. You're kind of, most politicians, you say, what language are you speaking? Because I don't know whether you disagree with me or agree with me. It sounds awfully nice, though. But I don't know what you just said. And that, it's like, come on, give them an answer. Give them an answer. You could be wrong. I mean, but go with your gut and give them an answer. At least they know where you stand at that point. Yes, ma'am, in red.
So you say that we are going to ask them, how did you vote on this? I haven't seen any of this stuff come and vote.
Well, that's the whole question. Why didn't you? What have you done on managed competition? What have you done on pension reform? Some of them actually voted against it, so there's a pretty good record on it.
So what point do you take the road to recovery and say, okay, let's go with this? And
We're going to have the first major element of the roadmap to recovery is going to be on the ballot in June of 2012. It's pension reform. As you saw, $737 million comes from retirement benefit reform. So we're going to move first with that. And at that point, you get to ask your council member, are you yes or no on Prop A?
so we have to wait for a general election because the city council won't step in and do anything in the interim.
It's quite possible. What I'm banking on, there's a parallel strategy. One is prepping that ballot measure, getting it qualified, working with people in the community if they want to run for council. At the same time that I'm going to my existing colleagues on the council saying, please, come on, let's just get it done. Let's get it done. My hope is public pressure in the next 18 months forces these people to reform. But if they don't, then at least you have the backup plan, which is, oh, well, all these folks have decided they're going to run for council. And now you have to answer for questions. I know, and that's the main thing. Remember, I started my watchdog work in 2003, and I got to say, we are closer than we've ever been to getting it done. And truly, the next 18 months are going to be critical for our city. Absolutely critical. And I absolutely believe, based on the results from Prop D, overwhelming rejection of Prop D, we won every single city council district in the no vote on Prop D. We won Democrats 55-45. I was so proud of that, because it shows that there is a nonpartisan commitment by the public that they are sick of the excuses. They want to see real reform. It's going to take tough decisions, but they want to see the tough decisions, and that's refreshing. Yes, ma'am.
What do people do in the next 18 months?
Write a letter to your council member, Marty Emmer.
Regarding?
Call her, email her, and then repeat those steps. Do it once a day, like showering.
We can't shower in the bathroom. Hey, we're saving water.
But do it, and then call the mayor, and then pick randomly another city council member and call that person as well. And then call your neighbor, and I encourage them to do the same.
Regarding, what's the topic?
What have you done to fix the pension? And don't tell me in 500 words.
Okay, so those are the topics.
Literally, have you seen the roadmap? It's somewhere in City Hall. You may want to get a copy of it. Why are city employees not paying their fair share in pension? what is this vacation in lieu policy, and how in the world are you allowing this to happen?
So does the council have the power to change
Oh,
it
yes.
now?
By the way,
Now?
here's the thing I left out. Not one of the reforms in the roadmap requires an agreement with the labor unions. It all can be imposed on them. You don't have to get agreement. They don't have to come to some settlement. You can impose it on them.
You can take the EMT out of the salary.
Right, like
without-
that.
The city council
Done.
can do that.
Done. 5 votes of the council.
Without union approval.
Correct. 5 votes of the city
So
council.
who's presenting that to the council?
I keep docketing stuff. They keep
So
looking
it's
the other
not
way.
docketed at
Right.
this point.
Right. It's everything. I mean, ask Jan Goldsmith. He'll say, yeah, council holds all the marbles. If they want to impose a change in the contract as it comes up, it happens. Let me get some others, and I will come back. I promise. Yes, sir.
Yes, what council members are on board with your proposals?
I'll say I'm blood.
Yeah.
Zaff, Faulkner. I think Young is on board. He's increasingly on board. That gets us to 4. Oh, he is 5.
So Railroad's not on board.
Marty has not been on board, no. Now, and let me commend Marty for joining me on the redevelopment agency reform. That was very, very helpful. Marty was very helpful in joining my proposal on redevelopment agency reform. She and I, when redevelopment comes up, we are offended by CCDC's actions. It is appalling. The lies, the misinformation, the disrespect. And Marty and I, when CCDC comes up, we kind of look at each other. It's like, okay, wingman, let's go. And we both play off of each other because we realize just how corrupt that system is.
Well, I remember her speaking here and saying one of the first things before she was elected was to get rid of CCDC. It needs to go. Nothing's happened in that regard from her, as far as I can see.
If you want support from people like me who have already been burnt badly, we want to see you lead the charge on Wednesday or out the committee having hearings on the redevelopment, explaining that the only acceptable way to have redevelopment organizations are 2 things. One, fix that tax increment, which is economically a cancer. Because as you get inflation, they keep getting more of the cut,
Right.
and they get a cut on stuff they don't do, and the cut is way too much. I think that's easy to persuade you to do. And that in order to keep them, they must lose the capacity for taking and giving private property from one party to another. Otherwise, we've got a snake. And when you got a snake, you got to kill it. And if you will defang the snake, we might be able to live with it. But if you don't defang the snake, frankly, I won't trust you.
Well, I'd like to talk to you more about redevelopment reform. You keep talking about transferring the payments for the convention center expansion at Petco Park to the redevelopment agency. That's like one piece of the puzzle as far as reform, and that's just monetary. Now, one reason that many of us here promote abolishing the redevelopment agencies is that overall, if you were to get rid of all of redevelopment in San Diego, ultimately that'd free up $50 million of property tax. That's the amount the whole redevelopment agency is diverting. Your downtown proposal, that offsets the current loss, which is $25 million, but you're still leaving that whole thing in place. So if redevelopment were to be abolished statewide, doesn't your plan still survive since it's based on the pension? And everything else is still a wash. You're still ahead.
My only problem is that we would take a $25 million hit because we don't qualify. That debt is not in the redevelopment area. It is in the general fund, and we've only been able to protect ourselves by going and saying, no, you are going to reimburse for that mistake. And legally, it's not debt of the redevelopment agency. If we went and said, here, it's yours, they'll say, no. All the loan docs say, this is general fund. We have no obligation to you. That's my biggest concern in terms of the proposal as it's currently worded.
However, it seems like you're still money ahead. $25 million if you abolish the whole thing and get $50 million back ultimately after the debts are paid off. I know immediately if you can transfer that $25 million, you're getting the immediate 25. And that's just overall, that's one of the reasons that, like I said, many of us here are supporting abolishing redevelopment
I understand
entirely.
that. No, I understand
And Bob
that.
Leaf brings it up that redevelopment is felled up in its conception at this point. It needs to be reformed. And the only way it can be reformed is to abolish it and start over with something that's more fair and abides by civil rights.
Okay.
Well, actually,